Okay, so today I'm going to be walking through how to set up the Anthropic API using NextJS, and we're also going to be using the Vercel AI SDK because it's going to allow us to have some more hard to implement features like streaming and just making our code a little easier to implement quickly because we're going to be able to use a lot of the boilerplate that they have already set up for us. As always, I'm going to be using Next.js 14 in the app router, and we're basically going to be, for at least the beginning, following partly this tutorial right here, or not tutorial, these documents on how to set this thing up. I'm just going to talk a little bit about why you would want to use Anthropic's new Opus or Sonnet AI LLMs. They are pretty much the most advanced right now. They've scored higher than GPT-4 in some metrics, and they have a lot better haystack needle finding when it comes to the information that you're giving it, with having a 200,000 token context window, which is extremely large, allowing you to give it lots and lots of data without having to worry about some of it getting lost or it to start hallucinating because the context window has gotten too big and some of the data has been lost or left behind from a past generation. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to get a VS Code window open with a new Next.js project. I'm not sure why I just opened that. That was the wrong thing to do. I need to go ahead and grab this little piece of code right here. We're going to go into my programs folder and we're going to rename the project. We're going to be using TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind, the source directory. We're going to be using the app router. We don't need any custom aliases or anything. And then we just wait for this to happen. My computer is extremely old. It's from 2016. That's when I got the CPU, so maybe a little slow on making things happen here. All right, now that we have that created, we want to go into that directory next 14, and then we want to code dot if you're using VS Code. While that's happening, I guess we can start talking about getting an API key. You're gonna go to Anthropic. I'm gonna search up Anthropic. Let me just go to Google, so I can just do it all the way from Google. Make it really easy to follow. So Anthropic console. You want to go to their console, which is a different page than the place you would go to just like use it in the web browser. And you're not going to have to worry about paying for your API calls at first because they're going to give you a $5 little starter subscription or starter balance on your account when you create it. So you don't have to worry about spending any money at first. You'll get that $5 and then you'll be able to work with that to set up all your things. And then from there, you can figure out what you're going to do and how you want to scale up. So after you have logged in, we need to get an API key, and we can create one right here. Call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it test. And now we have a new API key. Go ahead and make sure you save this somewhere that you can find it later, because it will not show you this code again after you close this window. Or at least I don't know how to fix that or get it to work. We have an API key. We don't really need to be on this website anymore. We kind of just close this for now, but we do, I guess, want to keep it open maybe to have the docs ready just in case. All right, now that we're in, I'm going to open a terminal. And before we even turn the application on, we're going to go into our page TSX file, and we're going to just delete everything because we don't care about any of this stuff here. We don't need any of it. I'm going to remove it, save, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to split our terminal so that we have two of them in the same window, and we're going to get a few things. we need to go to the Vercel AI SDK, and we need to install it. Whoa, what is this? What is going on? I just want to install the npm package for this. Okay, so we need to install a few things using pnpm. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Make sure you have pnpm installed. I'm not going to go over how to install that. It's very simple. If you need to install it, just type in install pnpm into Google and then follow maybe the first or second link that isn't a sponsored ad, and you should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and install all of this stuff. And apparently I'm a little out of date, but I'm not worried about that because this is just for a test or tutorial, so shouldn't be too big a deal. Yeah, we need the AI SDK from Anthropic, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. And then we're going to install that. All done. All right, now we can start the application. I'm going to open my first window here, so npm next dev to open your development environment. And I typed it wrong. It's going to be pnpm because we're using pnpm right now. And now I'm going to go ahead and open that. Now you're not going to actually see anything after it loads because we literally removed everything from the page, but I will write hello world here just to show that everything is functioning as intended, and we then see hello world, so we know we're good. All right, now we need to go back to the documents for the Anthropic API in the Vercel SDK. And we need to do a few things. We need to create an env.local file, which is going to be the place that houses our API key so that we're not instantly showing our API key and our code on GitHub or in production, right? So we're going to type .env.local so that we can have a place to store our key. All right, and I'm just going to copy and paste this syntax, not syntax, but this naming convention that we have here, which is just Anthropic API key with some underscores in between the words. And then we're going to take our API key that we got from the actual website for Anthropic's console and just drop it in here. So now we save, and we're going to need to reload the application one time so that we'll cycle it to read our m.local. And we can actually close this because now that we have it in our app, we don't need that anymore because we can find it over there in the application. Now we need to create a route to handle the API call that is going to go, stream up to their server so that we can query something, right? And we can do that using this here, which will use the Cluaude Haiku version of their AI, which is I think the weakest or least performant version of the API, but it's also the cheapest. So this is good because if you're on a budget, you don't really want to be spending a lot of money calling the API when you're testing, because that's going to rack up a lot of money before you've actually figured out what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this, and then I'm going to create a route called API/chat/rootts. Right, so we're going to go to our app. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it API. And then inside API, we're going to create another folder. We're going to call it chat. And then inside of that chat folder, we're going to make a root. Right, and now we have that root, and we're going to paste in the code from the example. And apparently we don't have the SDK here. All right, we had a little bit of an error there. But hopefully we should be able to get everything working now. And the error is now gone. That was just very annoying, but let's keep moving. Now we were creating this route so that we could stream up a prompt, and then after this we want to continue on, and then in the page of our app that we had deleted all that stuff, we want to create a form where we are returning a div that has this kind of layout here, but we also need to import a few things from our AI SDK. All right. I had to make it a client component because we were doing things on the client and not the server. So now we have a form with a little text box that allows us to input something. And we should be able to use it actually just like this. So I maybe want to just give it a shot here. I'm just going to write, how are you? And just like that, we're already up and running. So from here, you would kind of just make your front end, or maybe tailor it to your application so that you can more accurately, show or do whatever you're trying to do using this artificial intelligence. I also like to add a few things from the AI SDK, like reload, which allows you to add a button that reloads the prompt again, or maybe even the stop button. So let's say, you don't want to have your prompt continue, or you want to cancel what you're streaming down from the API. You can get rid of those things. So you would create a button, and then you would type something like on click, and then you would write reload. It's a TypeScript error. I'm just going to move on here because it's not going to stop it from working. Wow, I'm pressing all the wrong keys. And then we're just going to name these buttons reload and stop. I can't even spell reload. What is going on? All right. There's no gap in between them. This is crazy. Let's just do padding X4. There we go. And we only need to add it to the one in the middle because there's nothing else on the page. But that's pretty much everything you would need to do to get yourself up and running with the Anthropic API using NextJS. And you already have integrated streaming in the application. So you don't have to worry about figuring out a way to, implement that on your own. It's kind of just working, doing its own thing.